So for me, I've made the same videos. Sometimes I feel like I'm a freaking prophet, but the truth is, things are done the same way over and over and over, and a lot of it is just to try to put doubt in you. And it's gonna sound very familiar. Matter of fact, unfortunately, I was looking for the same video I made about something similar to that, but in different setting, not even setting, but different specific subject. But they do the same thing, right? Um, Gaslighting is really trying to make you feel doubtful, to make you doubt yourself. It's truly about creating doubt where you know there shouldn't be any doubts. And so what happened is they are trying to put you like they are trying to use whatever they can use to make you believe this reality they put together. That's obvious. But with me, what happens is now they do something to me because they do these things so systematically that they have these tactics that they do so systematically that if I find the videos I made, for example, what I'm going to say, I made a video about it maybe last year around the same time, right? Addressing the fact that they're using even this as a way for me to accept of this manipulation. It's like if you doubt yourself about this, then you see this is you. If you doubt yourself about that, that means that we're different. We're this and that when you are validated in so many ways about the reality of things. Now, obviously, the validation and other things are not the same because you're not dedicating your time in that kind of validation. You're looking for what is really happening to you. What I'm saying is they want you to think of, okay, well, you were wrong with this thing, right? So it means that this is wrong too. You were wrong with the way, and what I mean specifically is work related. That's the craziest part. It has nothing to do with what's happening to you. My dedication to my work is what I can, but what's happening to me is what is important. It's my priority. And I've understood the system, but they've done it so many times. At the end of the day, it's like, aren't you guys tired of doing the same thing? Does it not sound just like what I said before? But you would think that what they just did was something that was completely different, and it's not exactly what they've done before. For example, this is a purpose, a coworker. They come in all shape and form. Employees come in, get involved in whatever ways. What they try to do is try to make you ask you like, okay, in the real setting of work or of environment, you are you ask questions, you figure things out. It's like a place where you exchange ideas, you get, this is the reality of like a work environment. Now for a target individual, it's a little different. As a target individual, it's about gaslighting you. They are painting you in different faction, right? Listen, I swear I sound like a wise man, but it's truly things I've said a million times. But right now, as I'm speaking right now, there is perps doing whatever possible to box in this thought. Listen, I know that I was employed by people who wanted to break me down into accepting this false reality. It's their job. Sometimes it's orchestrated, sometimes it's not. I don't know when it's the when, but you just gotta think of it and like, okay, was this orchestrated? For example, I'm in this meeting, right? My status in this employment is medium level, right? We go through reports and things. We go together over it. We figure out what's happening, and then we present to the people we need to present. If there's a theory, we present that theory in this report. So I do my part as my position. I provide this idea and this theory. My higher up colleagues agree with it or go with it. Now I'm like, okay, well that's good. That's present to a employer, not even employer, some clientele of some sort, perhaps. Let's just say, give an example. Let's just say we're selling shoes, and we're saying majority of people buying shoes are coming from this device or this not even device. This coming from this website, and this is not usually the case. So I give a theory on why these people are coming on this website. It's a theory that needs to be worked on, studied, but it's just a theory, some idea we throw out there in advance, just to give an idea. And this is something we walk through with others. You understand what I'm saying here has nothing to do with me as a target individual. It's a world that's completely different from what's happening to me. This is me trying to function as an employee. But it's so magical how stupid they become to try to gaslight you into accepting this. This video, this thing I just said, has been said a million times in different fashion. I think last time I used the example of shoes, selling shoes in this way, and then they say, "Oh, you thought your projected shoes that you're selling was this and that." So I'm using the same. This is the same concept but different environment. Right as I'm speaking right now, they're doing everything possible to distract me, to deflect, because it's gaslighting. It's part of the gaslighting methods. It's part of the confusion aspect of things, and they want me to be nervous. Like we've been there before. This is the same thing. But let me say this again. Maybe I'll find the videos and of what I've said before, and you can hear how magical I am. So let's just have those two record, because these people, these perps involved in that, some of them become a little nervous because what I'm saying is so point on that it happens the same way all the time. I've said things that are scary to the point where, hey, listen, you might be seeing me dying right now, but you don't know when the day comes for you, and things like that have happened in this fashion. So what I'm saying is not that wise. It's just simplistic and reality. So I mean, I'm talking about work. We're talking about where they're purchasing this item, what website, and I give an idea. It's like, and I literally, it's marked like the theory maybe is what we think in theory that we're creating. It's a theory. It's not something that's concrete. We don't know exactly what's happening, but maybe perhaps what's happening is these people prefer to go to this website because it's more, they get to that website is faster, right? That's just a theory. Then I don't know if it's orchestrated or not. I don't think so. Perhaps it's not. I don't know. This is not what matters. But what matters then, the client comes, Papa, did you look at this website versus this website? And I was like, oh, we can look into that. Maybe that's that. It's like, oh, but if you're looking at that, then it makes less sense. And then they're all like, oh, no, but it makes no sense. This theory doesn't make sense anymore at this point. I was like, in this fashion. It's like, okay. It's like, you see it? You might be. It's you. God, I'm like, Jesus. You serious? And I'm telling you, the perps will come in as if they like validated themselves. Yeah, no, we did it. I'm like, are you fucking serious? Do you think that is what's gonna make me doubt myself in regard to what's happening to me? This is pure gaslighting methods. Try to put doubt, utilizing anything they can to bring doubt to you. But they do that so often that at this point, it's like, what else you go? You do the same thing. Last time was the shoes. I gave an example. I gave a projection of shoes going to sell this way, but it was not this. That's the example I gave. And then because the projections were this, it's like, oh, you see, you thought this was that. So it's you. And when they say I might be, is they try to make me identify with the pedophilia things they do to people. Do you understand how gaslighting is utilized in this fashion? So me, I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is what, like, and I'm not sure if this is orchestrated or not. Maybe it's orchestrated, maybe it's not orchestrated. I don't care. But for them to think that this is what it's going to take for me to be like, okay, well, this is now a program where they can alter the mind, where the Department of Defense have been working on how to alter the mind, how to use electromagnetic frequencies and other technology to change a human brain. This is not this 21st century weapon that the Department of Defense has been working on, so much so that there's paperwork of it since the 60s. There's a whole project called Project Pandora, where they were utilizing this electromagnetic radiation to see how they can alter the mind. I mean, it was amazing. I'm like, really? So this is because you tell me that the theory of these people buying from this website does not make sense based on that. I should now think that my brain is not being altered. This is not a program run by these governmental entities. That this is not happening to women and children and women and men. That I'm not being changed in these ways. This pedophilia type of torture is not something like they have no. And I'm like, wow. This man in front of me says, like, oh, maybe, huh? What? You're serious? I had to zoom in this picture. I was like, This is really what they hold on to. It's not even about reality. It's about reality that has nothing to do with the reality of what this technology does. It's about the sales of this product. What does that have to do with me being a target individual? And the perps here comes in as if they like really were validated in the work. I'm like, Jesus, that's so sad. And you see this the other perp here because she never seen this, like this what I'm saying right now has been said in many ways. So she doesn't understand that we've been around these same things, the same tactics have been used. She's so excited and smiling and smirking and as if she wants something. I'm like, really? Don't you feel it's like? And first of all, performance is doing amazing. So that's why I don't even understand. It's like, okay, this is way serious. You feel excited because this theory, this thing that we believe as a theory, we don't know if it's true or not, is a theory that doesn't make sense at this point, or it is not connecting. Anything is called a theory. It's something that we have to figure out. You think that's what I'm gonna now? It's already figured out. This technology that can alter the mind. Matter of fact, it's so easy to do that part. Matter of fact, the sophistication now is how thought process have been manipulated. It's so validated that there's men and women being tortured. They were there testifying. It's so validated. You do the pedophilia type of torture. Somebody said they do the pedophilia type of torture. It's so validated. They talk about mirror manipulation. Some person literally said the same thing. It's so validated that the brain is being rewired. What are you talking about? Target individual, for me, I'm never going to let this little life live the fantasy. Never. Please listen to how they want me to be doubtful. Because the sales came from this website.
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day. Human mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior.
Of innocent citizens being controlled by government-sanctioned experiments? Is Cheryl Welch telling the truth, or are her claims absurd? Just another conspiracy theory that's impossible to prove? Maybe. But not if you listen to Nick Begich.
I think there's some good evidence that Cheryl Welch and many of the other people I've spoken with have been victimized by this electromagnetic mind control experiments. The weapons of this century aren't bombs and bullets and ordnance, but electromagnetic energy targeting the human being, which is a greatest revolution in military affairs since gunpowder.
Begich is an expert in government mind control. He is convinced the Pentagon has mastered a technology once thought to be science fiction, the ability to broadcast information directly into the human brain.
Our government began spending a lot of time looking at how to modify behavior of human beings. Going back to the Korean War, in fact, in a publication, Low Intensity Conflict and Modern Technology, they have a chapter on electromagnetic weapon systems, being able to not just to debilitate someone, but actually even to stimulate certain activities within the brain.
But how?
HARP is the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, which started as a joint effort of the Air Force and Navy. This is a very large array or field of antennas based in Alaska, radio frequency antennas.
HARP antennas transmit powerful radio signals into the upper atmosphere to study the effects on wireless communications. But Begich says HARP can also be used for more sinister ends.
HARP has announced several other programs and campaigns, and there's two areas that I got very concerned about. One was weather modification applications. The other was the effect on human beings. If You can modulate a signal that the brain locks onto, recognizes, and begins to mirror or follow the frequency following response. The brain rhythms change, then it creates a chemical cascade within the brain, and the emotions change. Now the resolution gets finer and finer and finer. And it used to just to be about triggering emotions. You could change people's brain chemistry pretty readily, change their emotional state pretty easily. But when you get down to the idea of thoughts and being able to manipulate those, that requires a different kind of sophistication.
Can we hear sounds?
Designed to interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions, for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say, me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction.
With external fields of all kinds. For radio frequency, you can look at the Radio Frequency Dosimetry Handbook, 1986, University of Utah, produced for the Air Force. It gives you the resonant frequencies for each vital organ so that you can send in a radio signal that will couple with the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, and cause them to malfunction so that you can degrade the performance of your adversary. The new weapon systems being developed today will attack the mind, the body, and our physiology on an energetic level. Not with bullets and bombs. It's a perfect Republican weapon. No offense to Republicans here, but you don't want to destroy the property. You're going to have to rebuild it afterwards. This is a weapon systems of the 21st century. It's the very beginning of it in a lot of ways, but the research goes back over 50 years.
My name is Dr. John Hall. I'm a medical doctor from Texas. As I understand the memorandum from the President, it's for you to determine if current legislation is adequate in protecting individuals and if there's any ongoing experimentation. In reviewing the common rule, it's very obvious that there's a lot of loopholes to informed consent. All of the horrific experiments you've mentioned, Willowbrook, MK Ultra, radiation experiments, mostly were done without informed consent. They were funded by the DoD and intelligence agencies, where I'm not even so sure you would know if there's an IRB, much less if an IRB is looking at informed consent. As a physician, relative to some of what you're hearing today, in the community, we are seeing an alarming rate of complaints of use of electromagnetic weapons, microwave auditory effects, silent sound spectrum, EEG cloning, which has taken the lab out of the laboratory and into the home. Most of these, from the research that we reviewed, can be done remotely. It seems to be more weapons research than medical research. I personally corresponded with upwards of 1,500 victims, all complaining of identical complaints from every state in the nation of being exposed to electromagnetic radiation, non-ionizing radiation for the use of cognitive control or behavior control. I've submitted a paper to you, and there's another paper submitted to each member from another physician in Kansas City alluding to the same thing.
You do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War. You can call it a eugenics program even. But also walk them to their, they want to see if they can hyper game theory. How do you They want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control a brain? Most people don't believe that. Well, you can't control me. I have my own free will.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just
it is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't care.
This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds. And vice versa.
They use these monarch-style torture programs, like it's based on sex and trauma. So they're gonna traumatize you. They're gonna use your libido to get back at you, and
this technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal.
experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and form of torture. They coordinate the voice. I really mean extreme. I experienced an entire night with forced spontaneous orgasms repeatedly all through the night, one right after another, with maybe around 1 hour of sleep or so, as I lay immobilized in my bed.
In my mind, I can hear my own voice. I told them I'm going to make you pay for all of the years of torture that I've taken, and all you are going to me and my family. Ben said the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continue. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ASS, so just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals. When I aggravated them I used able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts and images in imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
I also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
Be my guess that this person developed delusional disorder. This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in the 50s, in their 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
cognitive warfare.
Exactly. It's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can,
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds.
Personalities.
And it's like Chinese torture. I mean, okay, so.
So this gets into creating Manchurian candidates, split personality, and information curtains, satanic ritual abuse. Okay, so they'll say we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's. So they'll say we're the the V2K. So they'll say we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this.
It's already being used. I mean,
if you talk to the victims, the TIs, one of the worst breakdowns, and it's pretty common. I think I can say the word simulated rape and forced orgasm.
You can say anything you want. This is the internet.
Okay. And so simulated orgasms and rape is extremely common, and especially violating for women. They complain about that torture breakdown the most.
You feel that you've been in justice?
You mean as far as the Justice Department feeling me?
Well, in terms of your being a victim.
You mean what I'm feeling?
Yeah, explain a little bit to me how you perceive yourself as being.
I have actual photographs of burns on my body. When I went to my doctor, the response was, "How do I know you didn't do that to yourself? How do you even address that?" I've passed 2 psychological evaluations, not 1 but 2. The one physician said, "You're mentally sound as a bell." He said, "I don't have any idea what's going on with you." When I go to sleep, when I go to try to sleep,
I feel like I'm being lit up like a Christmas tree. I feel every cell in my body just bouncing out of my body. I can't even describe it. I get electric shock of my rectum. I get electric shock up my nose. I've woken up with burns on the end of my tongue. I've had burns on the palms of both of my hands. I vibrate. I vibrate. I can barely hold a piece of paper without quivering. Does that answer your question?
I'm trying to find what's the source of the...
The source are these exotic weapons. They talk about in 2976, but if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women. Next speaker.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Buckner, and I have been a targeted individual for a very long time. The things I have experienced due to being targeted, they have been unreal. But however, I can personally attest that this is very real indeed. My life has been destroyed in every possible way, and every day has been a struggle for me. I am very grateful to be before you today due to Amy Anderson's due diligence and to everyone else involved. I thank you, council members, for giving us targeted individuals a chance to speak and to be heard. And I pray that these atrocities will soon be brought to an end. But we need your help. Thank you.
Alex?
Military medical research. I too believe my experience is referred to as no-touch torture, utilizing defense technologies. Jonathan Marino, he basically predicted all this a number of years ago in his book Undue Risk. I'm asking you to help initiate a congressional investigation. We've all come a long way. This is what is needed. We want to have the accounts of this extreme human rights abuse that's going on in our country documented and heard, all of the accounts. We also need what was done during the Clinton administration, which is a major declassification of some of these documents that are hiding what's been going on. I speak for many when I say we've suffered long enough. My personal experience has been 10 years. I've been vilified. I've been ostracized. I've been tortured. I have burns on my body. I'm an American. I have rights. The answer to the question, the big question today, could it happen today? The answer is yes, it is happening today. It is happening for some of us every day. I am begging for you to help us. Thank you.
I'm kidding. Hello, everyone. My name is Leslie Crawford. I'm here from the state of Michigan. I wanted to speak about biotechnology applications being utilized on my person. I have medical reports showing eye damage being done to my eyes. My eyes does not have a mirror image. I also have nano wiring inside my eyes. I have pictures of the actual implants from the eye doctor. Once enlarging the nano implants, you will see a copy of the actual particles in my eyes. I have CAT scans, MRIs, and PETs showing wiring, nano wiring in my head. This is my brain. It's straight from the right side to the left side of my head. I also have implants in my chin, in the chin region on both sides. One side shows a wire, the other side shows the actual implant. implant particle devices coming down through here, projectiles of the nanoparticles on the side of my head, enlarged pictures. These crimes is happening in America. This is a domestic problem, not only international. The victims is not being just victimized individually. We are being victimized and our family members as well. Gang stalking tactics and harassment was utilized to implement us into this program unconsensually.
Leslie, I think your comments reinforce much of what we've heard, and if you don't mind, I'd like to make room for others at the microphone now, since it seems to be reinforcing. Juan, I'd ask you to pick somebody, this gentleman right here. Yeah.
She's been waiting.
I'm sorry, who's been waiting? Oh, yeah, please.
Okay. My name is Eugenia Derden.
I'm sorry, Eugenia?
Eugenia Derden, yes. Everything I've heard from this commission and this panel about ethics, they were mostly talk about pharmaceuticals research, but I haven't heard anyone talking about a psychotronic weapon research, a bioelectromagnetic weapon research. Who in this panel are familiar with the psychotronic weapon? Raise your hand, please. Who of you know about psychotronic weapons? Any one of you? Psychotronic bioelectromagnetic weapons. Are you familiar with that?
Not at all.
No? Okay. In this audience, is anybody familiar with a psychotronic weapon? Okay. Okay, the audience is familiar with that, and I think that in order for a panel or a commission to be able to help this problem and this issue, we'll have to have more knowledge on what psychotronic weapons are. I am physically leashed from my neck to the electromagnetic power of one of the weapons that is being used against me. I get tortured day and night. At night is with nightmares and all kinds of dreams that I don't want in my head. And throughout the day is my body. They prod with my neurological system, so they do anything to my body. Sometimes it's painful, sometimes.
My name is Dr. John Hall.
In a way, I'm very sorry to address you like this because I think that what you're doing is very admirable. But I'm here to represent this other group, and I am also targeted, and this is my story. My name is Sandra Fields. I'm an architect, recipient of Who's Who of Women in America Achievement Award, and have run a successful business for over 28 years. My life and livelihood have been compromised for the last 11 years by being attacked by electromagnetic radiation torture and by organized stalking. I cannot live in my rent-stabilized apartment in New York City as a result of this torture. I'm currently staying in motels and friends' houses in the last year. Thousands of Americans are currently suffering from chemical, electromagnetic, psychological, and physical torture with no government relief or laws. Our servicemen, prisoners, and thousands of unknowing, innocent civilians are currently being lamed, tormented, and tortured as a result of military research, medical research, pharmaceutical research, physiological and psychological studies that have virtually destroyed participants' sanity, physical well-being, reputation, and privacy.
And the plan is that Mr. Juan Chuck back here will be, has the list of folks that will be offering comment. And maybe the thing to do is to just dive into that. I want to remind you before we do that the commission, of course, is charged on the topic of...
Ms. Cassandra Lewis?
Hi, Ms. Lewis.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Cassandra Lewis, and I'm a targeted individual from Baltimore, Maryland. My story may sound disjointed. I'm trying to keep it within the minute and a half. I worked as a legal secretary at Hogan and Hartson in Washington, D.C. It is now called Hogan Lovells. Attorney Jan McDavid made a client mistake that she tried to blame on me. I then refused to work for Ms. McDavid. Shortly thereafter, strange and inexplicable events occurred on my job, and after being fired, followed me to my home and to all my travels. Attorney Christopher J. Hagan, formerly of Hogan and Hartson, Mr. Samuel Conrad, he's a retired security administrator of Hogan and Hartson, and Robert Johnston, who is the current firm administrator of Hogan Lovells, are responsible for my targeting. I believe to protect Ms. McDavid's reputation, a phone call was made. To whom and why they did this to me, I truly just speculate. Gang stalking and harassment was used to implement this non-consensual biotechnology application that is being used on me. I now experience involuntary limb movements. I receive stingings. I get pains to my head, to my abdomen, to my vaginal area, and to my anal area. I am receiving...
Mrs. Marshall?
Good afternoon. My name is Connie Marshall. I'm a former mayoral candidate from Louisville, Kentucky. I have never been involved in any criminal activity. I found a document in my bank account that said, problem with Kentucky government, check federal government paperwork and file before releasing information to anyone. I am an 8-year victim survivor of assaults by directed energy weapons. The torture I've experienced consists of body overheating, body extremely cold, seizures, heart pain, ear aches, itching behind eyes, burning behind eyes, swelling, headaches, involuntary movement of my limbs, exhaustion, speeding and heart racing, hair coming out by the handfuls as if I've had chemotherapy, mind paralysis, being hypnotized or placed in a trance-type state, being tracked by a drone or satellite, controlled dreams, sleep deprivation, V2K, which is voice to skull, projected sound, extreme muscle spasms, and extreme muscle cramps, being made to fall down, blue circles around the pupils of my eyes, and I'm here and you can look at them if you like, low frequency noises in my home, high frequency noises in my home, sexual stimulation, numerous electrical appliances in my home are destroyed, 4 computers, 2 fax machines, 7 telephones, 4 CD players, VCR, DVD players, electrical igniter switch on my furnace, washer and dryer, air conditioner, also my car radio, CD player, and engine were destroyed. I am watched in my home 24 hours a day and followed around everywhere I go, though I do not have a criminal history. When I ran for mayor of my town, I was also attacked at debates and forums. My website is www.justiceforallcitizens.com. Thank you. And I would like to leave these flyers with you all as well.
Highly perverted, involving many combinations of sensory and motor manipulation of my mind and body and of the people around me. This includes many different types of zaps to varying degrees to the genitals, butt, anus, and the entire pelvic area. This also includes many kinds of movements, such as the rocking, swaying, jolting, vibrating, and shaking of my entire body or various body parts, specifically in a sexual way. The severe vibration is a highly noxious stimuli and is very intolerable. They sometimes do pulses or throbbing sensations on the genitals too, etc. There are also body movements such as rocking my pelvic area back and forth, repeated rubbing sensations, the sensation of something going up my crotch and in and out, etc. They also often force vaginal discharges and zap my genitals at the same time. These sexual assaults are present throughout the day, every day, and anytime I am awakened at night, every night. They range from mild to extreme, but usually involve daily and nightly continuous assaults for the past 3 years now. When severe, the zaps to the genitals feel as though someone is electrocuting my genitals repeatedly. I also experience what is referred to as anything electronic. They have even locked me out of my office building that uses an electronic key. It is often very difficult and an immense battle just to even sit on the toilet to go to the bathroom. Not only because of the bowel and bladder manipulation, but also because of the frequent severe sexual assaults on the genitals, my butt and anus, shaking, vibrating, and rocking my body back and forth, and forced eyeball movements, and phantom touch sensations doing rubbing sensations, etc.
But I was going to be shot in the face. And it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, she's going to get shot in the face. You know, sound like an angry ass old person. You know, then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Going to get shot in the face. You know, stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the Voice of Skull, it's a bunch of females. You know, and I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow that to go on? You really think they think it's nothing wrong with them?
So yesterday I went to the beach and like drank a couple of beers and just sat down there after laying in bed and sobbing for 2 hours because the private parts of my body were being burned and my breasts are removed. And just the trauma from it. Just not being able to cope with the pain and the emotional trauma that comes from someone harming me using, I guess, remote medical technology is my best guess. I went and saw a dermatologist. Hey, I just woke up after a pretty rough night. The same thing happened last night as the night before, which was whenever I was trying to go to sleep, the private parts of my body began being burned again, and it felt like someone pushing out stream. I can feel it's going to be the same again today. Already on the harming of the private parts of my body. Don't really know what to do. I tried to go to a doctor to get some kind of pain medicine because what actually happens to me, a lot of strange things. I've been doing some research, I guess what it's called, organized stalking. I'm called a targeted individual. But the abuse last night was pretty extreme. I can feel it's going to be the same again today. Already on the harming of the private parts of my body. Don't really know what to do. I tried to go to a doctor to get some kind of pain medicine because what actually happens to me, what is happening to me is my actual physical body is being burned. So it causes me to go into shock and it's excruciatingly painful. And I have my limitations on the duration and length of pain that I can handle. So it was a couple of weeks ago, I tried it. I don't know if the government has the right to watch and the proper in a lot of capacities of the things that I've faced. So today just feeling some pretty general fear about my own safety, because the government's burning the private parts of my body. Sometimes it feels like a laser or like pins and needles, like a tattoo. Sometimes it feels like a sunburn.
All of that
today, this morning. It's like not even noon yet here, and already I'm experiencing the pain and the harm to my body, to the private parts of my body. Today I'm actually dealing with something that's like, it's different than the burning the private parts of my body. It feels like somebody is trying to literally like cut the inside of my body, of my vagina, and I'm bleeding, and it's like bright red blood, and it's extremely painful. And I've talked to 2 people about it today. I've kind of talked to
become very brittle and suddenly I will somehow have a lot of fractures from minor things like stepping off of curbs. And this is just a hypothesis. It's based on past experience of things that have happened, of how the system tries to cover up things that it does to people by saying like, oh, well, this was pre-existing, or, oh, it was just your natural, normal body. See, look, now you have something else going on that points to this. I don't know how to explain to you how deep corruption goes, but it's, you know, I'm dealing with it, baby. But I suspect that's what's going to happen. I hope not. Hopefully this video being out in the world and people being my voice will make so that that doesn't happen. It is absolutely unacceptable for the government to be watching and for teenagers to be sexually assaulted and raped, which is what happened to me, that I have been under close watch for my entire life, and horrible, horrifying, heinous things have happened to me and no one has been prosecuted. And that is the absolute truth. And
went to bed. I had all, and they had relatively high floor, and they had all of a sudden I had been there like 4 or 5 days, and the night before I was attacked really bad, I noticed a maintenance man about 10 or 11 o'clock at night messing with all of the lights up and down the hallway. And as I'm sorry, I get kind of upset when I think about this because it's really messed up. And my spidey sense went off, and I was really kind of nervous about like what the hell he was doing out there, because he was kind of a sinister, he was real creepy kind of person. So so the next night, I believe it was a Friday night, I went to bed. I had all of the doors, all the locks on the door, even the one that kind of like goes over that you can't open from the outside. I had everything locked up. Figured I was safe. I went to bed maybe about 1 o'clock in the morning. I woke up about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, bleeding out of every hole, sick. Someone was in my room, or had been in my room. Food was missing. My dogs were traumatized. I had been obviously sexually assaulted in all the worst ways possible. I got up, first thing I did was vomit. And all I wanted to do was I was just in shock. There was a do not disturb sign on my door, and I didn't do this. And there was lotion all over my bathroom floor. All I wanted to do was just get on a plane and get the hell away from everybody. And I was, you know, very, very sick and in a lot of pain. I had already been denied a rape kit when I owned my house, and woke up, and my hair had obviously been pulled out, and there were earplugs in my bed. And I felt like someone had done something. I went to Palos Community Hospital under the directions of a non-compromised police officer who told me that if anything happened, to go right to the hospital. So I did. And I had a compromised doctor who treated me like a third-rate citizen and said she would give me an STD test and a drug test, but she refused me a rape kit. And so I had already been kind of traumatized with hospitals anyway, and honestly just wanted to leave. So I stayed in my room until about checkout. And then when I was downstairs waiting for my cab to come to
pinpoint one person, it's everybody, it's all the time, and so it discredits your character and your state of mind, which, starts to make everybody believe something's wrong with you, and then you start believing something's wrong with you. But it's not you, and you know that it's not you. It's just hard to prove. But don't go get, mental health help. Don't see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Most of the time, they're involved too. Your police are involved, your firemen, ambulance, people at hospitals, they're all involved. And it's unfortunate that we live in a society that gets a kick out of doing people like that. But it is what it is. The only thing you can do is stay strong and focus on the people you love. I was lucky enough to have my mother who was going through the same thing that I was going through. They started saying all kind of crazy stuff to her at her jobs, and
I am a victim of organized stalking, electronic harassment, microwave torture, V2K abuse, and I'm asking you to help us end this crime against humanity, which has impacted men, women, children all around the world.
Hi, I'm Wan from Malaysia. My family are targeted individuals. We are victims of cyber torture. And I will not give up. I will fight to the end.
And I'm a victim of organized
We need
stalking,
this to stop.
electronic
That's it.
harassment, and I'm speaking to you on International Targeted Individual Day. I live in the U.S., in Illinois, and I'm a victim of organized
We
stalking,
need this to stop.
electronic
That's it.
harassment, microwave torture,
I've been targeted for 9 years.
24/7.
Please become more aware of this crime and those that the crime is being committed against. We need your support and help in ending this crime.
Hello, my name is Wendy Brown. I'm a targeted individual who is living in New Zealand, but my targeting began in California. I'm an American citizen, and the targeting continues in New Zealand. I'm making this video in remembrance of Targeted Individual Day, our third annual Targeted Individual Day. And I'm asking that every honest-hearted human being open their eyes to a crime.
My name is Jeanette. I am 56 years old and I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I am a victim of covert electronic harassment and torture. I am a targeted individual.
Hello.
Why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me. It's brutally painful. I have a house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions. I observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe
and have had a decent education. I live in El Dorado Hills, California, with my wife of 14 years, Lorna, and our 5 children. Nicole is 15, Patricia 14, Christopher 13, Dylan 9, and Avery 16 months old. Not only have I been going through this, but my entire family has suffered right by my side. We have all experienced the same type of harassment on different levels. We have all suffered the same symptoms while this harassment was going on. Some of our physical symptoms include severe tooth decay and vision loss, unexplained rashes and burns, severe headaches, mood swings, anxiety, thyroid problems, high blood pressure, heart problems, vision loss, and cancer. Two of my children were born premature, which I attribute to this. Our son Dylan, now age 9, was born very premature. He was born at 31 weeks. During her pregnancy with Dylan, we were being targeted more so than other times. At the delivery, there were weird men walking and waiting around the hospital. Right outside our delivery room window, there was a white cargo van parked with 2 suspicious men inside. They were there the entire labor, a delivery. Our son had to be transported to another hospital 45 minutes away. When arriving to the Toa hospital, those same men and van were present. Three of my children have severe rashes that have not been explained by several doctors. These rashes have been present for several years at a time. If interested, I will gladly furnish you with detailed photos of the rashes. Our infant daughter, at 3 weeks old, was diagnosed with Lerner's syndrome. This was after a severe rash appeared on her body after a few days of torture. We were told by a couple doctors to take her home and love her and spend the rest of the time we have with her. They told us she would ultimately die from this syndrome. Thank God that Lerner's syndrome was not what affected our daughter. Doctors are still dumbfounded by her rash and symptoms. Sadly, we know that her symptoms were effects from the torture this poor innocent 3-week-old baby endured.
Why?
Was a mentally unstable individual.
This shotgun is the primary murder weapon. On it, he etched a number of carvings, including "End to the Torment," "Better Off This Way," and "My ELF Weapon." Alexis had been hearing voices and believed he was being bombarded by microwaves, something naval authorities knew about.
There are multiple indicators that Alexis held a delusional belief that he was being controlled or influenced by extremely low frequency, or ELF, electromagnetic waves.
And in his computer files, the FBI found this.
A document retrieved from the electronic media stated, quote, "Ultra-low frequency attack is what I've been subject to for the last 3 months. And to be perfectly honest, that is what has driven me to this."
And so on what should have been a routine day, Alexis killed 12 people: mothers, fathers, sons, daughters.
Diane, they never had a chance, and still no answers as to why so many red flags were missed.
As you say, so many red flags. Thank you, Pierre.
People.
About his time spent here in New Mexico.
As sick as this may sound, I've even had stalkers follow me into church while I was in Las Cruces and in Houston. I've had stalkers follow me into church to harass me.
May had worked as a prosecutor in Las Cruces just weeks before the shooting. In his last words, May speaks of his paranoia and coins himself as a targeted individual who's been a victim of stalking and harassment. He talked about a trip to Houston where he said cars would drive by and honk their horns every 10 minutes to keep him on the edge and agitated.
Father, forgive me for what I'm about to do. Forgive me for all of my sins, past sins, present sins, any future sins.
What do you mean by that? It's happening at work? At work, I had to quit my job, go to a different place to try to leave it, and then it's there as well. So. What were they saying at work? And everywhere, so yeah. What do you mean by that? A lot of sense. What do you mean by that? It's happening at work? At work, I had to quit my job, go to a different place to try to leave it, and then it's there as well. So. What were they saying at work? Huh? What kind of stuff were they? Yeah, I'm a pedophile. I like little boys. I like little girls. And what kind of stuff were your friends talking about? Same exact stuff. It's the same thing. Do the people at where you work know the people that you serve with? They live in Boston. They're all somewhat close areas. But do they know each other? Do they know each other? I don't know. So when you say you hear bits and pieces, how do you hear the bits and pieces? Just thrown in conversations or when I turn my back. Okay. All right. They mentioned that you have some hearing aids, right? Yeah. How long have you had those? 4 months, 3 months now. Okay. All right. How long have these issues been going on at home, work, here? It's been about 6 months now. Okay. How did you say you got the hearing aid? 3 months ago, because I was hearing shit, and everyone was looking at me and talking, and I watch people. That's what I do. And no one looks at me. No one talks. Like, I'm pretty invisible until all of a sudden now everyone fucking knows who I am.
Around others wounded. The first 911 call coming in around 7 p.m. from a local bowling alley that was hosting a youth night for a kids' bowling league.
We have an active shooter. We have multiple injuries.
Authorities releasing these surveillance images showing the suspect they're looking for. His name is Robert Card, and he's pictured armed with an AR-15 style rifle.
Mr. Card is considered armed and dangerous, and police advise that Maine people should not approach him under any circumstances.
Megan Hutchinson and her 10-year-old daughter Zoe were at the bowling alley. Zoe's leg grazed by a bullet.
I never thought I'd grow up and get a bullet in my leg. Why? Like, why do people do this?
After allegedly shooting several people inside the bowling alley, Card is believed to have traveled about 4 miles to a local bar and restaurant.
Sensitive secrets, potentially making this. The Defense Department releasing brand new details into an investigation involving child pornography and dozens of its workers and contractors, some with top-level security clearance. Not only are these very serious accusations, but investigators say some of the people involved were handling the nation's most sensitive secrets, potentially making this a matter of national security. Chief Fox Report correspondent Jonathan Hunt with the news. Appalling story, Jonathan. Do we know more about these people and their security clearances?
Well, we don't know their exact job titles, John, but what we do know is that they did appear to be working, some of them at high levels, across a range of government agencies. Take a look at this, for instance, the National Security Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, and the very secretive Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Others also work.
Two-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. But sexual crimes involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening in the general population? Evil.
Allie, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind
the CIA raping children and sexually assaulting children? And they're not being prosecuted? Where are you?
Has come under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material. Called Project Flickr, some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD-affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the Personal Electronic Device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security sweeps. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in, but we're also not doing enough in the Department of Defense to go after those individuals who are being recognized as the ones who are perpetrating this.
So Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger is the co-author to this bill. She said this, quote, "The notion that the Department of Defense's network and Pentagon-issued computers may be used to view, create, or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace and one we must fight head-on." Now, the fact that the Pentagon workers, be they civil or military or otherwise, already submit to a gauntlet of daily scrutiny just going in and out of work, is it fair then to the tens of thousands who are completely innocent to further allow that much more government intrusion into their digital devices or the things that they're dealing with on their computers?
Well, remember that what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access child pornography. And when you step into an office, whether it's a Department of Defense office or it's the offices at RT America, wherever you go into an office, you do not have the right to simply use the technology within that office space however you want. And you certainly don't have the right to use it in a criminal manner. So essentially, this bill is trying to
is a shameful disgrace, and one we must fight head-on, Spanberger said in a statement. According to child pornography watchdog Internet Crimes Against Children Child Online Protective Services, the Defense Department network consistently ranks in the top tier of Internet service providers for trafficking child pornography. It ranked 19th of nearly 3,000 networks surveyed in 2018. Meadows said the legislation
Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into
and go a food courtin'. More. More even went to the mall to get into the holiday spirit. One woman recalls that she was 14 and working as Santa's helper at the Gadsden Mall in 1977 when Moore first spoke to her and told her she would look pretty. 2 years later, when she was 16, he asked her out on dates. He hit on one of Santa's elves. Well, a true evangelical, he's putting the Christ back in Christmas.
Wow.
And I hear the sleigh bells jingling, ring, ting, tingling, too. It wasn't just the mall, folks. One Alabama journalist claims that Moore was also banned from the YMCA for his inappropriate behavior as soliciting sex from young girls. And don't forget, he did that while he was assistant DA. The assistant.